Welcome into the 7th episode of Season 3 of the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. This is the 71st episode of the show and the 15th mini episode. I'm excited for you to hear my chat with my friend Brandy New about computer science classes for girls. The successes that she has had and the takeaways that she shares are amazing. Let's get to it.
I'm Matt Miller of the Ditch That Textbook Podcast, a proud member of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to right now. The opinions expressed are those of the individual hosts. Make sure you check out all the other great educational podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to the Educational Duct Tape Podcast with Jake Miller.
Welcome! Hello, duct tapers. You are a duct taper if you agree with my educational duct tape edtech integration mindset, which says that educational technology is at its most useful when it's not the goal of the lesson or activity, but a tool being used to solve a problem or meet a goal. So we view edtech as a set of tools, just like we view duct tape as a tool. Therefore, as a listener to the show, you are now a duct taper. I hope you're proud. I'm glad to have you on board. In today's episode, I have an interview that feels like ancient history to me. You see, last school year, I recorded interviews at EdTech conferences and events and then featured them as mini episodes of the show. I've retired that format, but still have a few awesome interviews in the backlog to share with you, and today's is no exception. Way back in March, I interviewed my friend Brandy New at the KySTE conference in Louisville, Kentucky. We recorded the interview on March 12th, 2020. A few hours after we recorded, area schools started announcing closures. Then the final day of the conference was canceled. Then my kid's school announced a closure. My school announced a move to remote learning, and the stuff really hit the fan, as they say. Anyhow, that threw my episode schedule into a state of disarray and left this episode untouched for more than 7 months, which is a shame because while this chat with Brandy feels like ancient history to me, I'm confident that the content will feel like front page contemporary news to you. Brandy's insights about getting female students excited about computer science are powerful and are not limited to just getting girls excited about coding. I'm excited for you all to hear it. Before we get into it, a quick format note. I'll get back to my normal episode format in a little under 2 weeks with a full-length episode with the awesome Robert Kaplinski. For now, though, here's my wonderful chat with the awesome Brandy New.
Today's guest.
Okay, so I'm here at the KySTE conference, Kentucky's KySTE affiliate. Is that what you call it? KySTE affiliates conference, the yearly conference, KySTE 2020 here in Louisville. I'm trying to say as good as I can. How am I doing? Louisville. I can take as many letters out as I possibly can to say it right. Nice. This is my first time coming to Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm having a blast at this conference. I'm glad that I got to meet up with two of my friends from Educational Duct Tape, two duct taper buddies of mine. And today, in this mini episode, we're going to talk to Brandy New. So, Brandy, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do, where you're at, what you work with, what kind of stuff, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So, I'm Instructional Technology Coordinator in Hardin County. We're about 45 minutes south of Louisville. And then also, as my side hustle, I co-own a business called Shattered Glass.
Yeah.
And we actually do camps, professional development, all kinds of things, but to empower little girls to get into STEM activities and get there and stay there.
Nice. That's awesome.
What we're trying to do. Yeah.
Do you see my Shattered Glass sticker on my computer right now? It's sitting right in front of Brandy. So I have two different computer cases, so I could show different swag at different events, and it just happens to work out that today I've got my Shattered Glass sticker on.
I appreciate it.
When did you mail that to me? Is that when that came? We swapped stickers via the mail.
We swapped,
nice. Now I'm repping Shattered Glass, and as a father of a daughter, I have a little girl at home. Such a great program to be empowering girls to like, even if they don't go into a STEM field, just to explore it and feel comfortable going into it and get their feet wet with it and see, is this something I want, instead of being of that typical mindset where this isn't a girl thing, it's a boy thing, right?
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things that I get to do for the county is that we have a girls programming class.
Okay.
So in our high school, like 9 to 12, we had like 5 IT, what we call pathways, like in the CTE field, and there was no girls in any of those 5, like 2 to 4 a year.
Wow.
And so we did girls who code as a class, and and I now have like 30 girls a year. And one of the things that we do in class is we have weekly STEM speakers. So I get women either through like Skype a scientist is one that I use, or just personal connections. We either get people on Skype or bring them in from the community, and just women to talk to them about, this is my path and this is how I ended up where I am. And we've had marine biologists and physicists and cybersecurity professionals. So we just kind of run the gamut and try to make sure that we are teaching the girls differently, because you actually kind of have to deliver the content in a different way when you're dealing with a girl versus a traditional way. Like, girls don't learn as easily from books.
Right.
So I have a philosophy we call either hands-on or hearts-on.
Okay.
And that's when I'm working with my high school kids, or when we're doing the STEM camps with little girls. So hands-on, do a lot of stuff with like Sphero, and like actually get them in there with the code and with the engineering to where they can be hands-on with it. Or hearts on, we do, my high school class this year did websites for local nonprofits.
Okay.
That was one of their projects.
Yeah.
So something that they can engage with.
Yeah.
Because research shows, like the Girl Scouts of America have some really good research now on STEM, girls in STEM, and getting them there, keeping them there.
Oh, nice.
And that's if you teach them from like a textbook or a more traditional method, that they tend to drop out. So we just have to be really intentional about our programming for them and the curriculum and how it is that we deliver it. So
That's interesting to hear you say about doing it differently with girls, because I think we used to think, maybe just me, that it's not about the way you do it, it's just about making them feel welcome, and you could do it the same way, right? But now we've kind of realized too, like through culturally responsive teaching and things like that, that we talk about with students of race or students of different ethnic backgrounds, or people of color, or people from different backgrounds, or different socioeconomic status, that we can't just say, no, everybody's the same, we want to give everybody these opportunities and do it the same way. Really, like, we do have to think about the differences and take it into consideration for the way we do things, right?
I think so. And it was a struggle at first. I just did what I felt was right. And went with my gut. And then as I got more into trying to find some research, because there's not a ton out there that, specifically says, okay, this is what we need to do for girls to get them and keep them. And so when I started digging around and finding it, I was thrilled, because what I had accidentally, how it is, like you accidentally found something and you're like, oh, this is working, so I'm gonna stick with it. And then once I found the research that backed up my anecdotal, I was like, sweet, yes, I've been doing this right. Like, I was so excited about it. And I don't know that the hands-on, hearts-on, I mean, I'm not saying it's not for boys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's still just better teaching,
right.
honestly.
Yeah.
But I think you just have to, like I said, you got to be intentional. You got to think about, okay, what is it that we're doing, and what is going to get this crowd?
Right, and that might not be the right way to reach every girl, and that might be to reach some boys, but you've learned from some of this research and some of like your anecdotal stuff, like you said, that this is effective in engaging girls in this process. I love the idea of hearts on, because that's true. When you look at, like, at my school, we do passion projects, and a lot of, I've never actually counted it up, but it really seems like more of the girls are doing service projects than the boys. It might be a coincidence. I'm not my own internal bias coming out there, but it sure seems to me like that purpose. And we know from Dan Pink's work, right? Autonomy, mastery, and purpose, and you're building in that purpose by giving them something like that with those nonprofits. Yeah. So what kind, when they did that, you talked about the website design for the nonprofits. What tool are they using for that?
So we actually tried to be as close, since they're high school kids, to what I could find that industry was using. So instead of using like a traditional school curriculum, we went and Udemy. We used Udemy instead, which is more for, corporate, you generally think of. Actually, I had to jump through several hoops to get it approved, to get it approved and to get that all worked out. They thought I was insane, even Udemy did, when I contacted them. Like, no, I'm a public high school. They're like, what?
What?
We don't know how to talk to you.
We don't do that.
And then we moved our communication to Slack, because that was something that I realized the industry was using. So we were attempting to, also that just made me cool. And that's another thing, is that you got to be cool. You don't have to be a woman to teach a girls' class, but there are certain characteristics that girls want in their teachers, according to the research. And being like cool is one of I kid you not.
I believe you.
It is. That's like a word that they use to describe. So so you got to kind of be cool. So I went to Slack, instead of Remind or Google Classroom.
Well, it's a huge life skill for them to develop too, using Slack, because if they do go into a STEM field, especially if it's website design or something like that, a lot of those companies are either using Slack or a comparable tool that you're giving kids experience with. For people listening who don't know what Slack is, it's a, like, how would you describe what it is?
Communication tool, right? I mean, you're along the lines of like a massive group message, but it also gives you the ability to send code, and it looks like code. So, and then you can do add-ons with it even. Like, you can add in functionality. Like, there's, I can't even think of the one. This is really bad. It's a really big, like, repository site for code.
Oh, GitHub.
So, like, there's a GitHub add-on, so you can automatically kind of sync the things up.
Right.
So that's kind of cool. Then you can have side conversations, and so we have one channel for the entire class, and then each little project had their own side convos going on. And
so it's not even a tool that has to be used for tech. It's just a way to manage different groups within one big team, right?
Yes.
And like, if you're a team of 20 individuals and maybe 5 of you are focused on this, you have a separate conversation and area to share resources for that. But then you have another area for all 20 of you to communicate and things like that. But it came out of the tech culture, and so it's not surprising it works really well with tech tools. I didn't know about the coding aspects of it. That's really cool, and what a cool experience to give to them too.
Yeah, and that's we push them towards Twitter because we know, like, a lot of scientists are on Twitter. Like, Twitter is more for professional use, I feel like, and so there's a lot of scientists on Twitter. There's a lot of programmers, that tech world. So so I push them to make a Twitter account and find some cool people to follow and that kind of stuff. So just trying to be as real as possible, because in theory they could leave high school, and through internships and things that we set up for them in high school, they could be working at a local tech company.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you said before you made it a special girls STEM program, you had very low girl enrollment in the program, like 2 to 4 a year. You said. What's enrollment like now?
I have 30.
30
a year.
Between, is that 9th to 12th grade?
It's 9th to 12th grade. I'm at like a CTE school in the county, so we have 3 high schools, 15,000 kiddos, 3 high schools, and then everybody from all 3 high schools can come to this one, like, specialized early college and career center.
Awesome.
So so I've got 30 now, which is, a massive improvement. Over
almost tenfold.
Yeah, and we're not just there and in that space, we're kicking tail. Like, they're doing really well, my girls are. Like, they're outperforming. We've kind of raised the bar over the years. Like, they're getting more industry certifications, and we're doing different work, you know, and so now we have these websites, and it looks real, and the whole community knows about this, and so it's been really cool. So
is 30 a cap? Is that why you're at 30? Is it because there's one of you, or is that your not that 30 is bad? I'm just curious. Like is there more room for growth in that?
I think there is room for growth, although this year I had to scrounge because I only had like 26 computers.
Right.
And I'm like, So when we went to 30, I had to bum some more equipment and devices off of people. But I don't know. I guess 30 is my cap. I don't know. We haven't pushed it. We'll see how many show up next year.
Exactly. Then you decide if you need to make some changes to make them.
I don't turn anyone down, even boys. Like, we've occasionally had boys.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. For sure. We've occasionally had a boy who considered taking the class. Mm-hmm. And I just make sure that they know that they're going to be the only boy in the space, and that we do have, like, female speakers and stuff.
High school Jake would have been into that. I would have gone for it.
Well, do you know what? Not a single boy has taken us up on it. They have changed their mind every time, and they said, I just don't know if I would be comfortable in a space full of nothing but girls. And so that kind of proves our point in having the class. Was like, the girls didn't feel comfortable in a male-dominated space either, which is why we're here. So it's just really special.
The cool thing, I think, is that you're instructing them in a female-dominated space or an all-female space to prepare them to go out into a still male-dominated culture, right? We're getting closer and closer to equal, but you're upping their skills to get them comfortable and ready to do that. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, I have that conversation with them all the time. We also do lots of, I guess, like soft skill kind of development. Yeah. And we do things like practicing finding our voice. Mm-hmm. And what are you going to do when you show up and you are the only person like you in a room? Right. Because I can protect them in this little girl bubble for 4 years, but then they've got to have the chops, you know what I mean, if they're going to stick with it. So that's something, too, that having the speakers and then the mentors in place, that I'm really hoping as they go forward, like, all right, like, we're going to build this specific skill set so that you can, if this is what you want to do, that it's never a lack of confidence or that keeps you from doing it.
Well, and I think without that program, a girl who was potentially interested in going into a computer science career would see a whole lot of hurdles in her way and and it would be very intimidating, and you're eliminating some of those, and you're helping them find that love and that passion and go like, you know what, it is worth it. Like it's going to be potentially awkward to go into this career as a female, but now I know from Miss New's class that this is worth it, right? That this is what I want to do. Like it doesn't feel like I can't just write it off. Like that's what I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I definitely think so.
So in terms of technology, so you mentioned using Slack and you mentioned writing some actual code. What other, like if somebody's interested in starting something like this with high schoolers, what programs, what apps, what websites? You said Udemy or
Udemy?
Udemy. I said
it's
Udemy.
like a Skillshare.
Right, yeah.
Well, and maybe it is Udemy.
I don't know what it is.
I don't think you ever read it. What does it they say? If somebody pronounces something wrong, chances are it's because they've only ever read it.
Right? Yeah, it's just a website. So you use that to find information and to go through courses, and you use Slack to do communication. What other tools have you guys used in the program?
They actually were asked to do a lot of graphic work. And I am not a graphic designer and don't know a ton. So it was funny us trying to piece that together. Right. We actually did a lot of our graphic work just with Google Drawings and like the Noun Project. I mean, they put together some cool stuff. It's still amateur, but we didn't have time to learn.
Oh, they're putting their own real work out there in the world. That's awesome.
Yeah. Some of them, like, because the clients were like, oh, by the way, while you're at it, would you redo our graphic? And we're like, sure, okay.
Another experience for them to see if they're interested in it, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it worked really well.
Nice. Okay, well, as we're starting, you can hear that Casey Bell is in the room next to us because she's about to start her Stranger Google presentation. Oh, awesome. So we could hear the Stranger Things theme going on over there. Nice. So we should probably pause while that plays. But first, before we wrap this up, Brandy, we've got to do our on-air selfie. Are you ready?
Excellent.
And I even tested this in advance to make sure that I can continue recording from my phone while taking a selfie. It doesn't matter. I've got long arms. My giraffe arms can get us from where we're at.
Hey, if I stand up while you're sitting, we're the same.
We're
now the same height.
All right, Brandy. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thank you. Keep doing the good work.
Thanks. It's so much fun reminiscing about that chat with Brandy. She is so awesome. I hope you go follow her and check out all of her wisdom about computer science with female students. And I think it really applies to all students. So that does it for today's episode. If you've enjoyed what you heard, please tell a friend, tell a colleague that's more of an acquaintance than a friend, or share about it with a hashtag #EduDuctTape on social media. And if you really liked it, please consider rating the show on Apple Podcasts. Check the show notes for details about signing up for my newsletter, joining the Duct Tapers Facebook group, inquire about having me work with you or your team of educators, getting some podcast stickers, and more. As always, as a parent, I'm grateful for the work you do, and as an educator, I'm proud of your dedication to lifelong learning.
Thank you for listening to the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. Please visit eduducttape.com to join the discussion, share possible topics, inquire about being a guest, or contact Jake. And remember, duct is spelled with a T, not a quack quack K.